We knew that Jon Stewart was supposed to be in the Snyder Cut, but we've had a huge confirmation that Hal Jordan was supposed to appear too. Hey everyone, welcome back to our movie news. Now, the Snyder Cut came out almost 3 years ago, but we have just got some more news about it. Something we hadn't seen until now. We've already talked about Wayne T Carr being Snyder's Jon Stewart. He filmed a scene for the Snyder Cut in the front of Snyder's house, but Warner Brothers didn't let him put it in the film, which is why Martian Manhunter appeared instead. There were discussions that Hal Jordan was supposed to appear in the movie too, but we had no visual evidence of Jordan's appearance until now. Gerard S. Morantz, who worked on the Snyder Cut as a concept artist, has released these images of Hal Jordan as Green Lantern. So where would he have appeared in the movie? Well, we will get to Justice League 1 soon, but in Justice League 2, Hal Jordan would have crash-landed on Earth and would have been greeted by Batman in the nightmare future. So we know that he would have been around for the 2 Justice League sequels. But where was he going to appear in the Snyder Cut? Well, Snyder confirmed that he had a plan of having Jon Stewart's Green Lantern played by Wayne T Carr and Hal Jordan's Green Lantern played by Ryan Reynolds to appear at the end of the Snyder Cut to talk to Bruce Wayne. Yes, Ryan Reynolds. Which I actually really like the idea of, redeeming himself from the Green Lantern movie and actually having a little canon connection to that original film. Green Lantern was supposed to be the first movie in the DCEU, but because it failed so miserably, they decided to forget all about it. But I think it would have been cool if that movie was subtly connected to Snyder's larger story and could have been a great moment of redemption for Ryan Reynolds. So he was supposed to be the Snyderverse's Hal Jordan and was supposed to talk to Bruce Wayne with Jon Stewart about Darkseid invading Earth. But why didn't this happen? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Firstly, it seemed like too much of a logistical nightmare. This would have had to be filmed quite close to when the Snyder Cut was released, and it would have been quite complicated to get through. Secondly, and most importantly, Warner Brothers. As always with Snyder, Warner Brothers stopped him from doing something in his movie. Their excuse was that he couldn't have any Green Lantern appear at the end of the film because they were using Green Lantern soon after in their own show, and they don't want to confuse people, because having multiples of the same character hasn't ever been done in DC before. And yes, the Snyder Cut was 3 years ago and no Green Lantern show was made by the old regime. One is in development for the DCU, but the people who said no to Snyder hadn't created anything to do with Green Lantern, which goes to show how useless those executives were. They had no interest in doing anything for DC. They just wanted to stop Snyder from doing something they weren't good enough at doing. Green Lantern is a huge character, and Ryan Reynolds is a huge actor. If he was in the movie, then the Restore the Snyderverse movement would have had a major boost. The attention the movie would have received would have forced Warner Brothers' hand. They didn't want to be shown up again, especially from a director they had worked so hard on getting rid of and moving away from his vision. This is just another example of how their egos destroyed the DC universe. These designs look really cool. I love the idea of when they use the ring, a 3D logo projects on their chest. I think that is such a cool element, and having Ryan Reynolds return would have been a great thing too. I think he was let down by a terrible movie which was produced by Geoff Johns, which is no surprise, and I think Snyder could have really redeemed that version of the character. And I think that is another big reason we never got to see this happen. Geoff Johns. It seemed like Walter Hamada and Geoff Johns were close, both unbelievably useless at their jobs and seemed to be very shady. Geoff Johns was very involved in the terrible Green Lantern movie. Geoff Johns wanted to create Man of Steel, but it got given to Snyder. Geoff Johns became one of the people who overlooked DC during Batman v Superman and Justice League, yet they still were looking to use Snyder's plan. Geoff Johns helped write up the Justice League 2 and 3 storyboards for Snyder. Johns, who is friends with Kevin Feige, and then mysteriously Avengers Infinity War and Endgame have a lot of similarities to Snyder's Justice League sequels, and Geoff Johns, who wrote the Justice League reshoots when Snyder left the production. All of these elements make this very suspicious. If Ryan Reynolds appeared as Hal Jordan in the Snyder Cut, then that would have exposed Hamada, Geoff Johns, and Toby Emmerich even more. Think about it. Geoff Johns produced the terrible Green Lantern film. Reynolds returning and being better than what Johns did would have showed him up by the person who took most of the jobs he wanted to have. It would be in a movie that Geoff Johns and Emmerich worked so hard on erasing. They pushed the Justice League reshoots, and Hamada is mates with both of them, with Emmerich being his boss. So if Snyder redeems Reynolds' Green Lantern in a movie that the regime never wanted released, then they would have been shown up so much. They would have looked even more incompetent than they already did. This was a real egotistical decision from the regime. No business in mind, they just didn't want to be shown up. They already knew that Snyder would embarrass them with the Snyder Cuts being so much better than their studio cuts. They didn't want to make that even worse for themselves. Do you realize how big your ego has to be to put your own self-pride in front of what is best for your customers and movies? They would rather help kill the brand than admit that they made a mistake and fix it. They were so blinded by their hubris that they didn't see how they would have had their own redemption arc if they allowed Snyder to make the Snyder Cut the best it possibly could have been. Think about it. If they allowed Snyder to complete Justice League exactly how he planned, then fans could have had big respect for them for admitting their mistake and allowing Snyder to complete his movie as well as possible. Then, if the movie had enough views and enough hype, which it already had, then they could have made his sequels, and a lot of fans would have been on their side, or at least warmed to those executives for redeeming themselves, and I guarantee you their newer DCEU movies would have done better than they actually did, and they probably still would have had their jobs. But because they did everything in their power to stop Snyder from completing his movie, and then completely hiding the streaming numbers and being hostile to him and his fans, whether that was provoked or not, just alienated a ton of fans. And the DCEU's box office post-Snyder Cut is huge evidence of that. They killed the DCEU, not Snyder. Anyone who blames Snyder is just blinded by their hatred. It is so painfully obvious that the blame has to be on Warner Brothers. They put their egos in front of what was best for the brand, and they lost their jobs because of it. But us fans lost so much potential with the DCEU. The Snyder Cut could have put the brand back on track if they leaned into it more. Instead, they created more mediocre or terrible DC movies, and the franchise rightfully got rebooted, and they rightfully got removed from power. I'll stop my rant there, but it's so painful to think about what could have been if useless executives didn't care about their egos more than the franchise they were in charge of. But what do you think about this Green Lantern concept art? I really like the designs, but which one is your favorite? Because the designs are slightly different, so let me know in the comments below. But that is all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe and turn on post notifications so you never miss a video. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!